Hello. Thank you for tuning in to the re-recording of the public meeting for the Shavers Creek Coldwater Conservation Plan in its draft form. Special thanks to Huntington County Conservation District, who worked in partnership and collaboration with Penn State's Ag and Environment Center. Student interns at the Penn State Ag and Environment Center worked to compile this presentation and the draft of this plan. We are seeking public comments on this plan from residents and people within the watershed who recreate in the watershed for the purpose of cold water fisheries. If you have any comments, a way to provide those will be provided at the end of this presentation. First, some background information on the Shavers Creek watershed. The Shavers Creek watershed is approximately 63 square miles located in northern Huntington County. There are over 120 miles of streams within this watershed. Watersheds are typically split into hydrologic unit codes, or HUCs. The Shavers Creek watershed is comprised of 2 HUC 12 watersheds, and there are also 11 sub-watersheds within the entire Shavers Creek watershed. All of the water within this land area drains into Shavers Creek, which then has a confluence in the Juniata River, which confluences with the Susquehanna River, and ultimately that drains into the Chesapeake Bay and the Atlantic Ocean. Much of the land cover and land use within the Shavers Creek watershed is forested. However, a significant portion is also in agriculture, and there are some lands developed in this watershed as well. The Shavers Creek Coldwater Conservation Plan has a goal to collect data and provide some recommendations to preserve and maintain cold water fisheries within this watershed. Here is some information, including sampling sites that have water chemistry, habitat assessment, and IBI scores that will give us some information on how to move forward with projects that will help preserve cold water fisheries, especially trout. Huntington County staff sampled water at several locations throughout the watershed, with 14 in total. Here is a map with 14 sites located on the maps spread throughout the watershed. Different data is available at different sites. Here is the map in table form, where you can see the different types of data that was collected at different sites, as well as the dates that the data was collected. Here are some quick results. At 4 of the 14 sites, temperature was collected. At 5 of the sites, temperature was collected. 2 of those sites had elevated temperatures. At 4 of the sites, habitat was assessed. 3 of those sites were graded as suboptimal. There are 2 levels below suboptimal, however, they are not at the optimal level. Additionally, the IBI score, or the Index of Biological Integrity, was sampled at all 14 of these sites. Several of these sites were indicated as impaired. This will be discussed later. Here is some of the water chemistry results of 5 of the samples that were taken. As you can see, in Shavers Creek 2 and an unnamed tributary to Shavers Creek, there was some elevated temperatures in the water. 4 of the sites were assessed for habitat. These 4 sites' scores are at the bottom of this table. Globe Run 2 had optimal habitat, and the rest of the sites, Shavers Creek 1, Globe Run 1, and the unnamed tributary to Shavers Creek, had suboptimal habitat for fish. Here is where the samples for macroinvertebrates were assessed. The IBI score, or Index of Biological Integrity, shows how water quality interacts with the biological life within the stream. We know that fish eat macroinvertebrates as part of their diet in the stream, but we also know that macroinvertebrates are a good indicator of long-term water quality in these tributaries to Shavers Creek. These 5 samples were taken in 2022. Only one of the 5 sites that were taken in 2022 had an impaired status based on its IBI score. However, 9 sites were sampled in 2023. 4 of the 9 sites that were sampled in this year had an impaired score based on its IBI. Moving forward in terms of improving the water quality within Shavers Creek for the purpose of cold water fisheries, there are many partners who can assist with this work and who have already been doing a lot of work within this watershed and have accomplished many goals in the past several decades. Here is a list of some of the partners or entities and organizations that have been implementing this work. These organizations have been working with landowners and farmers to implement these projects on private lands as well as on state lands. As part of the project that the Ag and Environment Center interns have completed for this project, we did an assessment of the watershed. The students looked at aerial imagery of the watershed and visually identified areas where there might be a potential resource concern. They recommended a best management practice, or BMP, for that identified resource concern on a map. And then a windshield survey was completed as a follow-up. A windshield survey takes place after all the BMP opportunities were identified. The students would drive by on a public road to visually assess whether a project had been completed at that spot or if the opportunity to implement a project still remained. According to the students' assessment of the Shavers Creek watershed across all areas, a total of 111 projects were identified. Of those 111 projects, 54 of those projects were identified as riparian buffers. A riparian buffer is a vegetated area along a stream or a water body. So riparian buffers may include a grassed waterway, or more beneficial to cold water fisheries would be trees that would provide shade for the streams. So there is a lot of opportunity both on ag lands and private lands, and also probably state lands, for implementation of buffers, as well as other types of stormwater and agricultural practices. A separate assessment was done by the Chesapeake Conservancy for them to identify priority action areas. They identified 11 parcels within the watershed that they have goals to implement projects within. As a part of this plan, students at the Ag and Environment Center, as well as other Penn State students, have been working on an aquatic organism passage assessment. This is to assess culverts for the purpose of whether they can serve as migratory pathways for trout. This is an essential piece of understanding the connectivity of the watershed within Shavers Creek. The results of this study have not yet been complete. However, when they are, they will be in the final report. Additionally, we know that invasive species are a concern within the watersheds of Pennsylvania. Within Shavers Creek, rusty crayfish, an invasive species from the Ohio River Basin, is present. Zebra mussel and New Zealand mud snail have yet to be identified within the Shavers Creek watershed. However, that they are a concern that we should be aware of within cold water fisheries habitat. The Pennsylvania Natural Diversity Inventory does show us that the Shavers Creek watershed is a critical habitat and important bird area for many areas within the watershed. So while we have a risk of invasive species and there are some presence, we do have an inventory of natural diversity that is native to our landscape. Moving forward, our recommendations can be boiled down to this. We recommend that we continue to work with partners to continue implementing projects and collecting important data that will help us identify and prioritize projects. We should continue to work with landowners, farmers, and partners within the watershed to implement these projects. If you have any comments or questions, now you can provide them by contacting me, Erin Troba, at ect5075@psu.edu for the links of the digital copy of the plan and a form to submit your comments and questions. Please submit your comments by the 1st of December 2024 so that we can integrate them into the plan, and a final report will be made public. Thank you so much for your time in listening, and I hope to hear your comments soon. Have a good one.